everyone, welcome once again to our YouTube channel A.O.S Academy. Here we talk about everything related to Canada immigration, TEF Canada preparation, IELTS preparation, everything that you need to relocate to Canada, and even work on research assistance tips and guidelines on how to write well your project, your thesis and dissertation works. If you have not subscribed yet to this YouTube channel, kindly do right now. Hit on the notification bell in order to get notified anytime we drop a content, and also like this video. Today we are going to be starting up a very wonderful series which is centered on the questions that you are attendees of the Japa to Canada in 2023 webinar have been asking. And I'm so glad because we have had a ton of questions that have been posed to the speakers, the people that are going to be anchoring the webinar, myself and my very wonderful cousin Shoderu, who is currently in Canada, Vancouver, precisely British Columbia. So he also moved this year, and he moved around May, June 2022. But what we are trying to say here is that a lot of you have been asking questions on how to relocate to Canada, how to relocate either as a single person or as a couple or even as a family. So we have had about 40 to 50 questions already being asked on the RSVP page for the webinar. So it's quite a lot, and we know that the webinar of 1 hour to 1 hour 30 minutes cannot suffice to actually answer your questions in details. So as a result of that, this video is going to be doing justice to responding to those questions and giving you very wonderful ways you can actually start your own processing. Now, that being said, the very first question that we are going to be tackling today is from Mr. Fayomi Abass Alex, and he asked actually two questions. The first question he asked was related to the cost of relocation. He said, how much in total should one budget for the Japa process? For people that don't know the Japa process, who are not Nigerians, it basically means migration. Even though if you're Nigerian and you don't know, Japa means migration, relocation. And the second question he asked is that, is it possible to get a sponsorship for this process or for this purpose, the purpose of Japa? Now, the very first question, I'm going to talk about it. He was kind of direct, asking how much in total, how much in summation should one budget, should one have in stock for the Japa process? And I would answer the question in 2 to 3 different ways. So please expect these responses. The very first response is the illegal migration, because Japa 2 can also mean either the illegal migration or the legal migration. Here we are going to be centering on the legal migration, but we will also be telling you about the illegal migration and to tell you the pros and the cons basically that is attributed to it. For people that are migrating to Europe, not necessarily only Canada, some of them are going through the Niger Republic, through Cameroon, through Agadez, through Mediterranean Sea and places like that, which are not really cool to talk about. Going through the desert and the seas to just migrate to one place is kind of, you understand, kind of risky. And a lot of them still even pay, because it's not totally free. Nothing is truly totally free. You pay one way or the other. So they still pay to actually go through those means. Some people are paying about $250 to $500 to actually move like that. And $250 is quite cheap, you understand, as compared to how much people are spending to relocate. So $250 for people that are not Americans, you would pay roughly in Nigerian currency, that's about 190,000. So 500 would be about, you understand, more than that. And if we're looking at the Canadian dollars too, that's still way cheap. But what we are saying here is not about the illegal migration, but we are talking about the legal migration, where you would go through the Canadian government, you understand, to relocate lawfully to Canada from your country, be it Nigeria, Ghana, India, or places like that, to Canada. So how much in total should one budget for the Japa process, the Japa purpose? I would tell you this in also 3 to 4 ways. Firstly, I'll tell you as a single person how much you need to have as a single person to relocate to Canada, how much you also need as a couple, the spouse and this other spouse, husband and wife, you understand, to migrate to Canada, or the family, whether you are a small family of 1 or 2, or a family of 3, 4 and more. You understand? So to not waste much of our time, the very first way, or the very first cost, the total cost of someone that is going alone, either as a man alone or as a woman alone, you would spend roughly 15,500 Canadian dollars. And how much is that in naira? If we are using the black market rate of Canadian dollars in Nigeria, that means you have to spend roughly 7.5 million naira to actually relocate to Canada. If you are using the normal exchange rate, it would be like 5.5 million or thereabouts, you understand, to relocate. But I want to also talk about something before I proceed. These rates that I'm giving, this cost that I'm giving, is not only related to the money that you would use in your processing. It is also including the money that you would have in your bank account, which you are not going to necessarily spend out of. Do you understand? Because the total summation of this cost is actually gotten from the money you pay for language exams like IELTS or TOEFL or TEF Canada, if you are to pay for it, because some people don't even do one or more of those exams. Now, for ECA, which is the Educational Credential Assessment, the money you would pay for taking, or you understand, sending your credentials, your bachelor's, your master's, your PhD degrees to Canada for verification and evaluation. The money you pay for your biometrics, to have your thumbprints to be scanned and sent to Canada. The money you pay for your application fee to actually apply for either provincial nominations or even the express entry route. The money you pay for your right of permanent residency, that is if already you have been approved or you are in the process of being approved to actually move to Canada. The money also you would spend on police clearance certificate, you spend on trash screen, sending it through the courier service. The money you pay for your photos to be taken along the biometrics. The money you pay for your translation of your documents, if for instance you don't have your documents in English or in French. The money you also pay to notaries, notary public, to get affidavits and things like that for your processing. And lastly, the money you pay for your settlement funds, which is otherwise known as the proof of funds. As I've said earlier, it's going to be in your account. You are not going to pay it. So if we are to actually remove the settlement funds, which is the one that is quite expensive in this application, if you are to remove the settlement funds from like the 7.5 million I talked about, if you are to remove that, you would, even the normal exchange rate, that's about 4.3 million naira that you would have for $13,300 that you as a single person would need to have in your bank account. But if you are using the black market rate, that could skyrocket to about 5.2 to 5.5 million naira. So in essence, what we are trying to say is this: if you are relocating to Canada and removing the settlement funds from your total cost, you would need about 2 to 2.5 million naira as of now, you understand, to actually relocate to Canada. Secondly, if you are going as a couple, your wife is following you, you don't have any child, or maybe you understand you have just one husband and you are going to Canada, then you would not pay that 7.5. Rather, you would actually you would expend more than that. You would spend, as of now, roughly 10 million naira, and that's about $21,000 that you would actually spend in order to actually relocate to Canada. And as I said earlier, it is the money of settlement fund that is quite much that you need to put in your account, and there are ways people do it. I think that would be a discussion for another, you understand, session. But for this purpose, if for instance you are going as a couple for 2 people, you will need about 16,600 Canadian dollars, you understand, to be in your proof of funds, to be in your account. And the normal exchange rate is about 5.3 million naira, but if you are to use the exchange rate of the black market, that's about 7.7 million naira thereabout. So basically, you need, as a couple, you need as a spouse of another going together, you need about 3 million to 3.5 million to actually process your Canadian immigration, your Japa process. Now, if you are going as a family of 1 or 2, you understand, from Nigeria or any other place that you currently have, you would need about $25,000 for that, and that is roughly 12 million naira if you notice, you see that there are about addition of 2 million or 2.5 million in those fees. Why? It's because if you are relocating with a spouse, then that person is a secondary applicant. If you are relocating with your child, that person is a dependent. So as a result of that, you are not spending so much money on them, you understand, to relocate. You as the principal applicant will only be the one that would pay the bulk, or that you would spend the bulk of the money. So as relocating as a family, the proof of funds again is what makes it much more expensive. The proof of funds may be 8 to 9 million naira, and the money you as a person together with your family may need to budget for, you understand, relocation is 3.5 to 4 million naira, thereabout. Do you understand? Now lastly, if you are going as a family, do you understand, as a family of you understand, 1 or 2 children, as a family of, or maybe even 3 or more children, then you would spend 30,000 Canadian dollars, and that 30,000 Canadian dollars is going to be 14 million thereabouts in Nigerian currency. And as I said again, it is the proof of funds that make it quite voluminous. So you can spend roughly about, do you understand, about 10 million naira for the proof of fund. Do you understand? 11 million naira thereabouts for the proof of fund. But the money you would need for you and your family to peacefully relocate, easily relocate, will be about 3 to 4, or sometimes even, depending on it, 4.5 million naira. Now, with that, we have answered the first question. The second question is it possible to get a sponsorship for this purpose? I first want to ask you as well, you understand, do you think someone can actually drop this kind of money to help you relocate? Okay, did you say yes? If you say yes, you are correct. If you say no, you are also correct. Why? Because to relocate is an investment. Do you understand? An investment of not only your life, but an investment of a whole lot of things. Now, I would put it this way. Yes, you can get a sponsorship if you have a valid job offer, if you got a valid job offer from a Canadian immigration or a Canadian employer. Now, if you are to get such works, most people that get such works are managers, directors, and people that are of the, you understand, either intermediate level or the high level, the executive level of a company. Now you can get that, and you will get a lot of perks from that, because the proof of funds is going to be removed totally from your expenses. So that is going to be removed. If you are going as a single person or as a family, you don't spend on that any dime. You only use the money that is going to be given to you as a salary, you understand, to use to show your eligibility, your proof of funds eligibility. Now the money for now the processing, for the application, for the exam, what they call it, the language exams, for the right of permanent residency, biometrics, and things like that, may also be catered for by the company, depending on your terms and conditions, or be paid by you. You understand? The company will not sponsor you on that premise. You may be the one that would pay for that, and you may get that refunded to you again when you get to Canada, based on some benefits you would get from, maybe depending on the company, maybe relocation benefits, maybe travel benefits that you get from the company. And the other part of it is, no, you cannot get a sponsorship for this purpose if you do not get a job offer. Do you understand? Even if you get a province to actually nominate you to migrate to Canada through the provincial nominee program, you are still going to be the one that would, you understand, fend for yourself. You are the one that would pay through those processes for your own, you understand, migration purpose. And lastly, I'm going to talk about myself to round this up. I went along with my common law partner, not my own spouse, but my common law partner, and roughly right from the very beginning of the process to the end, do you understand, we actually paid about 2.5 million naira, you understand, to relocate ourselves to Canada. And the money we needed for the what they call it now, for the proof of funds, was roughly, as at then, about 5.5 million naira. Do you understand? So if you want to look at our own scenario, you would see that from 5.5 million naira to 2.5, we spent roughly 8 million naira to actually relocate. But there are ways people, as of now I heard, actually get the proof of funds. You don't necessarily need to have the complete money in your own bank account, and there are ways that will be a topic for another what do they call it now, another question Q&A session. So if you like this video, thank you very much. Try to subscribe to this YouTube channel, hit on the notification bell to get updated anytime we drop a content, and also like this video and share with your friends and family. Thank you very much, and I do hope to see you in the next Q&A session.